Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tato Jayamudiraye
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Nanda Gopakumaraya
Nandagopa Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So I was told that you all have very thoughtful and introspective discussions here, meditative discussions. So I was contemplating on some theme. The nature of the living entity is defined in the Vedic literatures that it is made in the image of God Himself. And the nature of God or the nature of absolute truth is not just simply informative, but even the supreme truth has an emotional feature. The soul is lively only because of emotions. If you subtract emotions from the soul, what remains is a machine, which mankind has almost achieved now through artificial intelligence. That you can make a robot who can think more effectively. A robot is more better than a soldier because he never gets fatigued. He never experiences compassion. He never experiences hatred. There is no season for the robot, nothing. So technically, if the emotional aspect is removed from the living entity, what remains essentially is just a machine part of us. So in one of the discussions in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yantra Rudhani Mayaya, that this whole world is functioning, it is powered by Maya. Maya means the illusory energy, and it functions like a machine. It's operating very systematically. It is okay as far as matter is operating in a systematic manner. But human beings, because they are not simply matter, we are a spirit soul. So there is an intense urge for experience, and experience too with sense of emotion. For example, we all like to watch a movie, but when you watch the same movie with your friend, it becomes more joyful experience. We all like to watch some kind of sports, but when it is watched with some like-minded people, the same sport becomes very joyful. If a person is alone watching a football match and the favorite team scores a goal, he's not going to jump and dance in his house so much. But when he's with 20 people, he jumps and dances. The spirit of the living entity is designed exactly as the spirit of God himself is, in the sense of emotion. Where there is a fulfillment of an emotion, that's where the living entity gets a fulfillment of life itself. And if there is no emotional fulfillment in whatever you do, even if you have done great things for this world, within your heart you feel empty. Say, for example, you got some great scientific achievement, you'll still feel empty if you're not emotionally fulfilled. Let's say you earn a lot of money, but if you're not emotionally fulfilled, you'll still feel empty. So the world is filled with many empty people. It's filled with emptiness. It's interesting, right? Think about this term. We are filled with emptiness to lesser or greater degree. And to fill that emptiness, we try to do so many different things. So addressing so beautifully when Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he tries to explain these things to an ordinary living entity called as Arjun, he understands that Arjun is also looking for some fulfillments through something. The living entity is looking for fulfillment through something. But we don't even know how to seek fulfillment. For example, although we are in this earth, although we are on this planet, we are amongst the trees and rivers and roads and mountains and oceans. Our experience of a tree or a mountain or a road or a river or the ocean, etc., is limited just to that ocean per se, not deeper than that. So Krishna, when you cannot see the world as connected to you, you will see world only having certain kind of properties. When God tells Arjun that essentially there is no difference between me and you and everything that I have created, it is unified in one singular property. This is the core spirit of what we call as meditation in the essence of it. We try to seek experiences. We say that, oh, I don't understand you. I don't know you, so I don't know how you think, how you behave. But that's not actually even required. If you want to understand someone else, just understand your own self. Because everyone else is an extension of your own entity, your own very self. Just as what are your desires and what are your needs and your requirements, those are the fundamental requirements of everyone else. Those are also the fundamental requirements of God himself. So essentially, anything we see in this world is not disconnected. We are all integrated in a web, a massive, grand web of integration. So imagine this. You all must have seen a spider's web, right? So in a spider's web, it has so many strings, and then all those strings are connected with other concentric circles or hexagons or whatever you say. It's just tied up like that. If you take any one of that in that whole mesh, you take one vertex, one intersecting point, and you try to shake it. You know what happens? Everyone else shakes. Every single vertex shakes. It's not that one thing. So imagine that this universe is like a big spider's web. In the Vedic literatures, it is called as Indrajal, the web, the network of Indra. So imagine this network where each one of us are different vertices here. Every single thing, every animal, every tree, every living entity is single vertex. And we are all connected to some strings here and there. Each one of us is connected to some 10 different points or 50 different points. And those 50 different points are connected to someone. Everything, it's just a massive web. If you shake one thing here and there, the whole thing starts moving. And it's not just here. The more you learn about the deeper sciences, how the universe is constructed, even though the planets are so far from each other, in the massive, what do you call, in the fabric of space and time, the space and time is also considered like a fabric, just like this is a fabric. So it's not just this. If you look closely, there are so many threads going horizontally and vertically. So space is considered a fabric, and all the particles in space, or let's say even the planets, they are just like particles. They are intersecting at some point. So it's not just human beings and trees and living entities. Everything here is connected like that. And you remove one element, let's say you remove one planet from the solar system, the whole solar system will collapse. Like that whole network which is built. It will start collapsing because everything is intricately connected. Those people whose consciousness advances to that level and who understand this, they feel the pain of others, not merely out of compassion. They feel the joy of others, not just because uh, they have had some experience and therefore they share the experience. It is just that if someone else is happy, they feel the happiness of that person. Even though they may not have experienced that, they feel the pain. So in very simplistic terms, you must have heard this word called empathy. There's difference between sympathy and empathy. Can someone tell me what is the difference between sympathy and empathy? Or sympathetic person and empathetic person, empathic person? Yep.
The empathy, you more feel the feelings of the other person rather than just feel sorry for them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So exactly what happens in empathy is you don't see so much difference between you and him, that other person. There is a sense of oneness. Now when that becomes absolutely mature, you can understand the core fundamental needs of someone. So Krishna, when he tries to tell Arjun, he tries to tell that, my dear Arjun, try to connect every aspect of your life to me. Try to see me in everything, because it is me who is essentially present in everything. And he starts explaining how his presence, he the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how he is present in different things. Just now it was raining few minutes ago. And when it rains, there's a unique smell which comes from the earth, right? So Krishna tries to tell Arjun, giving some few examples that, okay, don't try to search God somewhere else. Just in the universe, all around you, you can just experience me. He says, I am the smell of earth. Now just think of this. We have hundreds and thousands of types of perfumes. And it's very difficult to have that earthly thing, earthly perfume. But now recently, in last 2 years, I have come across these fragrances, earth fragrance. What is the fragrance of earth exactly? How do you define it? So the closest they define the earth's fragrance is on the mud when you put some water and it releases some smell. That is the fragrance of earth. So when Krishna says it's not just that fragrance, he's trying to say there is some fundamental fragrance in earth because of which when it mixes with different seeds and different plants, it is producing some fragrance. Like for example, every ice cream is basically vanilla. Correct? It's just milk, sugar and all. But then there has to be the milk flavor in that. And then you put some strawberry, then it becomes strawberry. You put some chocolate, it becomes chocolate. You put blueberries, it becomes blueberries. But fundamental flavor was vanilla. You know that, right? You didn't know? Okay, that was the original flavor. Original ice cream was that. The flavors came later. It was just milk, something, and put with some vanilla. But that is the original ice cream. Rest all were just flavors added one on top of other again. Now you have all kinds. You have pizza flavor ice cream. In India, there is an ice cream with chili flavor. I haven't yet eaten it. But the point is when Krishna says, I am the fragrance of earth. So he's trying to say that everything you smell, try to see beyond the smell, because when you just see the smell, all you will see whether you like it or you don't like it. You say, I am that which is giving. So in the concept of fragrance, you apply an apple seed, it gives a different flavor. You apply a rose seed, it gives you different flavor. You apply jasmine, it will give difference. But at fundamental, he says, I am the fragrance of earth. Then he gives something so very beautiful. He says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am the taste of water. It's so amazing. These are some of the most lovely verses of the Bhagavad Gita. I am the taste of water. What is the taste of water?
Nothing. Depends. Definitely nothing.
Okay, she's saying that the taste of water is nothing. So whenever she's thirsty, you can give her some juice. Will that do? Sometimes you just need water, right? Even though juice is mostly water with some flavor, but why do you need water then?
No taste is it satisfying.
Does water have no taste? That's not true.
Taste of quenching first. So that's why I think.
Even juice can quench your thirst, right?
No.
Because most of them.
No.
Okay. So there is no conclusive answer here. But this is what Krishna is trying to say. I am the taste of water. Means you may be fascinated. You'll pay for juices. You'll pay a premium for a milkshake or something which is largely water. But that which is freely available, without which you cannot sustain your life, I am that. And when you want that, it's an uncompromising desire. You want water means you want water. So it not only quenches the thirst, but think over it now. I want you all to think when you go home today And when you take some water like this and just drink, just think what exactly is so fascinating about it. Because we have it so easily, you don't actually realize it. So someday when you are free, maybe when you are traveling here and there, you have nothing to do, just contemplate on these verses. So just like fragrance, similarly water. Everything that which gives juice and variety, and so that's the original taste is that Krishna says, I am that. It's so amazing how he introduces himself not as God, but he says that, my dear Arjun, learn to see me in everything. Because if you don't try to see me and if you cannot perceive me in this beautiful creation around you, how are you going to perceive me without it? He tries to say that I am the ability in man. Just look at these definitions. What does this word mean, ability? As you grow, you'll realize that at a certain age, when you are 15 or 16, you think that you are invincible, you can achieve anything in this world. Actually, that thing goes till 25 or maybe 25 or 30 years. You think you can achieve everything and anything you can do. But as you start aging, suddenly you realize that no, it's not like that. You start doubting your own self. There are serious limitations of the body, there are limitations of the mind. And then you wonder, what exactly went wrong? I'm still the same person. Where has that ability gone now? What is an ability? Ability is not a function of the body. Ability is not also the function of the mind. If ability was a function of the body, then every strong person can achieve anything. But sometimes if the mind is not in place, you may have a lot of strength in your body, you are not motivated to do. And if the ability was a function of mind, then simply by motivational lectures, you should be able to do so many things. Have any one of you have any of you one of you have had this need to listen to some motivational lectures? You've heard about motivational lectures. I feel that that whole business is for depressed people because I feel no sense in that. That if you are fit, why do you need this motivation? If you have basic fitness, you have a sense of what you can do. I'm not saying that that's bad, but and I've also seen people, specifically modern youngsters, that they listen to these motivational lectures and then suddenly they feel, yes, I can achieve something. And in 2-3 days, they are back to square one. And again, it's like a drug. You just want to hear motivational lectures, but you don't do anything. So if ability was the function of the mind, then that could have been solved just simply by some kind of counseling or simply by some kind of uh, motivational lecture. Right? Do you agree or not? Then what is the ability? So ability is something which drives your mind, which drives your intellect. So Krishna gets to a very fundamental point in saying, see, Arjun, you may be thinking that you are doing something, but you are not able to recognize that there is an element of me within all that you are doing. If that is removed, you won't be able to do many things, even with your best of your mind and with your best of your body also. So we have seen in the greatest of the sporting events also, the greatest of the soccer players, they make silly mistakes. The greatest of the cricketers, they'll make silly mistakes. Some common sense mistakes. The greatest of the scientists, they make silly mistakes. Why does this happen? With all the checks and balances, some fundamentally silly mistakes happen. Because our life is not simply driven by our own self. So Arjuna, Krishna, God in the form of Krishna is saying, I am the ability in man. So Arjuna is fascinated. He's mystified by these few definitions. He's like thinking, wow, this is amazing. Then Krishna tells him something even more beautiful. He says, Mattaha smrutir jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes remembrance. What does this mean? He says that means that I am the ability by which you remember. So this is a very interesting thing. Have you all forgotten something at any point of time? Like when you are in a conversation and you say, oh, I wanted to tell you something, and then you say, oh, it slipped my mind. Has it happened with all of you? Now let's say that it slipped your mind and the other person says, oh, was it regarding the new movie where you wanted to talk? You say, no. Was it regarding some job situation? Oh no. Was it regarding some money? No. Was it regarding the place from where you came? No. Was it regarding that person? No. Let's say, think over this. Let's say that you forgot what you wanted to tell to your loved ones. How do you exactly then know what you have forgotten? What you have not forgotten? When I suppose, is this, how can you know this is not what, this is not what? How do you exactly know that is not what you have forgotten? I hope you understood. I forgot I wanted to tell you something and you forgot. If you forgot, then you forgot. How do you specifically know this is not what I forgot? Think over this. It's just an amazing function of the brain that you remember that you forgot something. And you specifically remember what you have forgotten, but you forget that, It's so difficult even to put in the words. At that point of time, suddenly something happens and it clicks you. Oh yeah, I was just telling you that, I had kept the keys on the table there. Now, how does this thing come? How could you remember what you could forget? What you have forgotten? And how do you actually make sense of it that, yeah, this is what I had forgotten. Now, this is what I have remembered. This used to happen with us when we were studying during exam times. You just simply forget. And then suddenly it strikes. And you just don't know how those things happen. So Krishna, he says, from me comes remembrance. One of our acharyas would give a beautiful example. Like when you go to sleep, you forget everything about yourself technically. And you are in a very different world, in a different dynamics. You're thinking about something, you're in a different place, you're eating different, you're in a different time zone itself. Like you may take rest in the afternoon and probably in the dream it's, and in the summertime, but in the dream it's winter time and it's night maybe. So everything changes. Space and time as a function collapses in the dream state. It operates in different dimensions also. Many times you're dreaming, you're walking, you're crawling, suddenly you jump like animals. Anything can happen in a dream. It is a very dynamic state. Anyways, the point is you forget yourself. So when you wake up in the morning from deep sleep, Have you all experienced that it takes some time for you to make sense of things around you? Has it happened that you have woken up and it takes a couple of seconds to just look around and things start sinking in? Okay, maybe I'm in Amsterdam. I travel often and I keep changing homes so very often. So it happens with me all the time. When I wake up, I have to just make sense of things. Okay, where's the restroom? Where's the living room? And sometimes I wake up and I have to stand for a few, about almost 20-30 seconds just to figure out exactly where I am today. I'm so and so person's home. This is a layout. Okay. So when you sleep, you forget about yourself. And when you wake up, it takes time for that memory to build up. Who is that building it up? If you had lost it by yourself, who is helping you build it up? When a person loses his, because of old age or some kind of accident, people lose their memory, right? And it's not that they lose sometimes the whole memory, they lose a section of the memory. And after they are well, then they remember everything. But they just lose one section of it. Essentially, what happens in the brain is those specific neural connections which help for the whole system to develop, those neurons, those things don't take place. And science is trying to figure out, there is no exact solution of how the memory lapse is happening and how to build it up. But they are doing random things through electrical signals and trying to do, they are still studying. But this is a very mystifying thing. That there is something in this whole system which is making the system work. So Krishna says, Mattah smrutir jnanam and apohanam. From me comes knowledge, and from me also comes forgetfulness. If he desires, he'll pull that string from inside. All your suppose you are the president or the prime minister of Netherlands, and next day morning you wake up and you just forget who you were. And you look at everyone and they are all greeting you, good morning, sir, and you have no idea what's happening exactly. The greatness of your feeling is only because of the memory. That I have done so much last 40 years for this country and I deserve so much honor and people love me for this. You will relish all these things only as long as you remember. The moment you forget, it's gone. It's vanished. Your whole life of tremendous struggle, it's gone. We have seen so many devotees, so many people in their life having no idea of what they have done their entire life, just vanished. One of our devotees' father, he has forgotten everyone in his life. The only person he remembers is his wife. Somehow. He remembers the wife, he remembers the mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra. He remembers Krishna, he remembers Guru. That's it. So the son is taking care of them. So every day, the son has to spend about 20-30 minutes of the day, the beginning of the day, to remind him that he is his son. Because every day morning, he's like, who is you? Who are you? Why are you here? It takes time for him to build it up. And then they show him some photographs. The wife comes and says, okay, he's our son. Oh, okay. It's somehow it's like that. So it's so mysterious that person who has worked so hard, there is another person, his father has a memory of someone taking away his hard-earned money. So now he's gone old. So all he does is every day morning he counts his money. He has sufficient money, but he has some cash on him in the house. So that's in 25,000 in certain denominations. He always keeps it under his pillow. And every day morning, the first thing he does is counts 25,000. Then he feels now everything is okay. So it's amazing how if we lose one section of the memory, we will not be able to complete the entire circuit of our life. You may be doing 100 things, but one thing, one connection snapped. And these are not physical connections. These are all electrical signals crossing over each other in a complex web of brain activity. So when Krishna says this, it's amazing. Very fundamental. He says, from me comes knowledge and from me comes forgetfulness. Both are a blessing and both can become a curse. Let's say in this particular life, in the journey of life, if you forget essential things, then that's a curse. But because we don't remember our past lives, it's a blessing. If your current life is not so joyful, for sure your past life was not so ecstatic. Because the current life is always the derivative of the past. We must have not done something so good, and because of this we are stuck in some experiences which are not so pleasant. But then that's a blessing. One time we were doing a program of Gita, and one person in our temple, he started crying because there was some discussion about past life. He started crying and the speaker was like shocked. What happened? Did I say something that offended you or something? So he said, I remember everything of my past life and people think that I'm crazy. And because he remembers everything of his past, when he was about 15 years of age, he could not relate with anyone of his present life. Because the memory of those 100, whatever, past 1 or 2 lives was so intense that the new life doesn't still make sense, because he feels, why am I in this family? My mother was this, my father was this, my brother was this, my children were this. Imagine a 10-year-old boy feeling that, oh, where are my children? What are they doing? So his children would be like his father's age now, probably even more. So then he told that he remembers how he was killed. So it was an imperial India, kings and ministers and all. So he was poisoned. He used to be the minister in one of the powerful kingdoms. So when he started making some claims, the government, nobody took him seriously. But then he said, in this particular palace, there is a secret passage which only 2 people knew. One, the king, and one was me. And there was no other person who knew this. So then they investigated into it. And he guided them to the secret passage, and he also told that what is underlying in those things. So when a small boy does all these things, then it becomes a proof, right? But just see, this shows that experience or memory is not just function of your brain. There is some other power. Your brain was just manufactured a couple of years ago in the womb. How do you know something of your past life? What carried that memory of the past life into this neural structure, which modern scientists will say brain? They have now figured out how the memory takes place. What makes a memory? You know, we experience so many things every day, but not everything becomes part of your memory. Isn't it? So what determines that this will become part of my memory? And then that is stored somewhere. So they have just found that one thing, and all the whole scientific community is like going crazy over this one little discovery amongst the millions of activities which are happening in this small gray matter. So when Krishna says Mattah Smrutir Jnanam and Apohanam, means I am that forgetfulness. It has nothing just to do with this brain. It's more than that. The one who carries the remembrance, one who carries the experiences, because of which you have different likes and dislikes in this world. For example, Archie, she's a good singer. She probably she has a good she has she's grown, she's born with some basic talent with likes with music. There'll be some who are born with some basic talent with certain instruments. Some are born with talents with arts and drawing. Amazing skills people have these days. I mean, they've always had. So it's not just your function of your life. That smriti or that sense in trying to do things, that is called as smriti, that Krishna is saying, I am that. So in so many different ways, Krishna is trying to tell Arjun. Then he says, my dear Arjun, I am the brilliance in the fire. There are different kinds of fires. There are some fires which are categorized as not so hot fires. In the sense that some are cooling fires and some are actually heating fires. Similarly, even cold, there are burning cold and there is a cooling cold. You know that? How do you then classify cold and fire and so? Anyway, so Krishna says that I am that. So Krishna says, then he says, I am the fire of digestion in every living entity. These are basic things. So to experience God, you don't need to actually do something unique. Even if you are just thoughtful and introspective about the things around you, you will be able to experience. Fire of digestion is a very fundamental need. We don't even realize that when you want to relish a particular food, you will truly relish it not just at the level of taste. If it does not digest, you love to eat it, but if it does not digest, you will have to probably rush to the restroom immediately or you will throw up. So that's where Krishna says, I am the fire of digestion. That means the fundamental thing which brings whole sense to your act of eating and consuming. He says, I enter in each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. I am the splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, and also the splendor of the moon. So Krishna tries to tell to Arjun that use your mind and intelligence to perceive and appreciate me in these things. So this becomes also a form of a meditation in your day-to-day basis. In day-to-day life, you may not probably get time every day to sit 30 minutes peacefully. Even then, you can meditate on the truth in this manner with no extra endeavor. Every time you drink water, just think, oh, this is God, so mysterious. But what is the color of water? There is some color, but you cannot define it. There is some taste. Definitely there is, but you cannot define it. Like that. So a wise person is one who goes one step deeper. You don't have to go too deep. Just little bit more. And then you suddenly start experiencing the joy of transcendence in your life. Thank you. If you have any questions or comments. Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, you mentioned that living in a place together, the fact that one vertex gets displaced and shakes the whole. So when you think about a community or a small group, it makes sense. But will it also affect in the larger context? If one person is
So there is a phenomena in this world which they call as the butterfly effect. They have put it in terms of geography, and it's a theory, but the theory has a basis. It's not just simply a theory. That if a butterfly flaps a wing somewhere, that eventually, if that is not counteracted, it can develop into a cyclone some other place, some other place in the universe, on the planet. So let's say a butterfly flapped and wing, and then slowly that wind is. It's like, think in terms of, in mathematics you have derivatives and integration. All those things. Suddenly there is another function of air coming, and then this interferes, and one thing goes into something, into a domino effect, and then there is a cyclone happening 3 months later in, let's say, Hawaii, and the flap took place somewhere in Middle East. So you heard this term butterfly effect. So basically it's on that. So if that is true with just that thing, then why cannot it be true with a karma? That if I do a good act, it has to have a universal impact, no matter how small it is. If I do a bad act, it has to have some universal impact, no matter how small I do. So the idea of transforming the world or experiencing the truth is not by actually doing something at a worldly scale. It's the doing has to be only at an individual scale. So if you want to experience the truth also, at my individual level, let me do the best. Even if I'm a little small flower in the whole section of the poisonous Amazon forest, I may be surrounded by such big trees, but let me be that small little flower. And if you're that small little flower who has some honey, then a bee will come only for you. It may not go on the other poisonous plants, but it will just come for you. And then it will pollinate someone else who is similarly like that. Then so many flowers come. So it's always like that. It's a change in thought of an individual transform everything. So, and this, in our Vedic literatures, we have even more greater phenomena, like the tapasya of Dhruv Maharaj. By the power of his pranayam, he held the breath so strong that it started suffocating the breath of the universe itself. So it was not exactly that people were feeling breathless because Dhruv Maharaj captured all the. That's not what it means. It means that your intensity of your meditation, of holding a certain force, is so strong that those people who are governing that, they are feeling that our power, we are getting powerless and breathless. We are unable to function. See, when the movement of air is not proper in the body, you cannot even lift your hand. So when we talk about breath is not just what we breathe here and there. When the vayu is disturbed, the air element is disturbed in the body, suddenly you have jams in the bones, they start aching, then your bodies don't move, the muscles start cramping. That happens only because the flow channel of air is not there. So Dhruv Maharaj, although being a boy, by his intense austerities, he choked up the essential vayu by which the universe was moving, by which the planets were functioning. There are different energies by which things work. So just a small little boy could do that. So we hear about so many stories, and today science also acknowledges so many such things. So everyone has to take care of their own vortex. And if major of the vertices are messed up, which is what we call as Kali Yuga, then it creates a bigger mess. But it always has an impact. You can see, I'll tell you, you can visualize this also in a very different way. Imagine that you have a chandelier, but not with glass. Imagine all the entire chandelier is connected with steel balls, like a ball bearing, very reflective nature, chrome plated, and then all the balls are interconnected in a mesh. And imagine a mesh of 100 by 100 matrix, a cube of 100 by 100. So every single ball is reflecting every other ball, the reflection, if you just measure the reflection. So if you move the position even little bit of that ball, I hope you can visualize what I'm trying to say. If you move the position of the ball even little bit, the entire reflection which it has, that changes its order. And it's not only that which changes, all the other reflective balls, they change their reflection just because one person changed little bit. I hope you are able to visualize it precisely. Or you go in a glass mirror kind of a place. You change one place, every mirror changes differently. So that's why a highly reflective ball connected in a mesh will change its reflections. So karma also works like that. Therefore, when in the manner of moral stories, we are taught these things, but these are very highly deep scientific, physical, mystical properties which are there in the universe. If you do good, if you sow a good seed, it is you who will reap the fruits. You don't have to worry when and how. You just keep sowing. The universe will somehow connect you in the matrix in the way that you will be the beneficiary of it. And if you do a mischief and you try to be smart, you may think that I have avoided the problem now, but it will ensure that the mischief falls in your own lap. It is always like that. And that's why Krishna says, you want to understand the truth, it begins from yourself. You be truthful, you be honest, you be sincere. Don't worry about the world. Game is that. That's the beginning, that's the middle, that's the end of it. Where you experience the truth. In fact, Krishna also says this. I am the beginning, I am the middle, and I am the end of every living entity. Means I am the one ultimately you are searching for through everything. Does it make sense? So Indrajal is a very important concept. It just basically teaches is no one is free from his own responsibilities. One cannot say that, okay, if 100 people are good, more or less everything is good, then I can make some mischief. It's okay. No. When one person makes a mischief, it may not be so much noticed because 100 people are all good and they'll tolerate, but it is the beginning of creating a disruption, a disturbance. So the collective vibrations are like that now. Chaotic, disruptive.
Questions?
Maybe just an appreciation because in my own personal process, struggling with remembering stuff, it was a good reminder because we kind of it's easy to recognize from Krishna's the source of remembrance, but then also accepting him as the forgetfulness. It's a whole other cookie. It's nice.
Yeah, so eventually that person whom I was talking about, later, a couple of years later, he started slowly forgetting his past. Means there was a memory, but it was not bothering him anymore. It was just like yesterday I did so many things and one of the incident. And he started connecting with people in his present life. So even through them, if through that person, although we read so many things through that person, we could make sense that sometimes not remembering your past life is good.
It's also
Like it's an act of forgiveness,
yeah.
Like sometimes if I've done so much wrong, okay, let go and now improve yourself. So we have to tell ours also, right? Forgive yourself. It's just that. Every life, Krishna is only giving us an opportunity. Okay, forget it. Restart, restart, restart.
And sometimes also when people have like severe trauma, psychological, they don't remember. Also, rape victims or something, they don't remember. It's a blessing actually.
Mm-hmm.
It protects you.
Yeah, it protects you. So when one becomes spiritually advanced, one gets an ability to tolerate his own memories, his subconscious, because most of our subconscious is not made up of amazing experiences. The very fact that we are generally not so faithful, in the sense that we don't trust someone so easily, or we have some insecurities, some fear, that means our subconscious does not have too much of positivity. So when a person advances, he starts navigating in his subconscious mind. He can see himself properly. He can see the deep rooted desires which he cannot see currently. Today I may feel that actually I'm a good person. I have done so far nothing wrong. But I have no idea what I would have been if I'm the head of a state, or maybe if I have $100 billion, what exactly was. Suddenly I may change. So even just to recognize what we are in the subconscious, it takes a lot of time. But when that happens, then that's bewildering, because you have to you face yourself, and it's a brutal experience. But then spiritually advanced people, they have the ability to tolerate it, and they consciously learn to forgive oneself. This life they must have done nothing wrong, but they know all that has happened, and potentially how vicious they could be. So that's why sometimes scriptures say, right, the act of crime is not crime, essentially, because that is something you can get rid of with some kind of punishment, some threat through law and order. But as long as I have the propensity that I'm very lusty, or I'm very greedy, or I'm very envious, or I'm very angry, if I have those propensities, I have the desire to hurt someone, but I don't do it because the society may punish, it may not look good, I want to look nice, I have a good image, I don't want to spoil all this thing. That doesn't mean that I am a good person, essentially. So a spiritual, when we come to the path of spirituality, we are working on the propensities itself, not exactly on the actions. And when you start dealing that, and when you see that, oh, I have so many propensities, first thing you get is Actually, one should get very alarmed that, oh, I'm my own enemy. there's no enemy. I will create my own troubles myself. So spiritualist learns to face himself and graciously fight and win over that battle. And he does.
In this regard, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes in the early days, like when they came to this verse of, spiritual achievement never gets lost, it continues through life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're unsuccessful in one life, you just continue in the next.
Yeah.
And then at some point, he told his students, or they realized, like, that means in our past lives, we were also devotees, probably. And then, but then at some point, one of them told later that also, so they were feeling proud, like, oh, we were devotees in our past life also. And then at some point, one of them realized, like, okay, but that means that somehow we messed up because we're back here again. So then it kind of changed around.
Mm-hmm. In our own community back there in India, at least there are 1, 2, 3, 4 people whom I know who have forgotten many things. One of them due to accident, another through because of Alzheimer's or something. Somehow they remember the Mahamantra. Somehow one of them has Jagannath deities in their house, so he remembers. There is Jagannath, there is the mantra, there is Guru, and there is no one. How come that retained? And not that these are not people who are exceptional devotees or seekers of God. They have been just like struggling their time through life, making things just work in the family, doing job and everything. So at least in these 4 cases, which and 3 of them are personally known to me. 2 of them very close. It's amazing how it's so assuring, that when you do a good act, it's always part of you. When you do a spiritual act, it never goes. So, chanting.
Yes, thank you so much. Let's thank Jagannath Priya Prabhu. Chanting Hare Krishna mantra, all of us together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.